History of Phala Farm: fear of accountability, abuse of state institution to shield a corrupt president, a man who should be the number one defender of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa has turned to be the number one violator of South African Constitution. This is the story of Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Farm, where state institutions were abused, state power was abused, and president's corruption was covered up. Let's dive deep to it. This is where it all began. In February 2020, a massive theft took place at President Cyril Ramaphosa's private Phala game farm in Limpopo. An estimated $4 million in US dollars hidden in furniture like sofas and mantras was stolen by individuals who went on or had access to the property. This money was allegedly paid by Sudanese businessmen for purchase of buffaloes. Yet at the time the story broke to the public, they were not delivered nor collected by the Sudanese businessmen. Surprisingly, the funds were never declared to South African Reserve Bank (SARB) or South African Revenue Services (SARS), as required by the South Africa's financial and tax law. The concealment of this transaction alone, it amounts to violation of exchange control and anti-money laundering regulations. Instead of reporting the theft to South African Police Service (SAPS) as required by the law, the president allegedly used his personal Presidential Protection Unit (PPU) to investigate the crime privately, thereby abusing the state resources to protect his personal wealth and political image. The illegal cover-up. The so-called investigation into the theft was conducted in secret by Major General Wally Road, head of Ramaphosa's PPU. Instead of opening a criminal case, the suspects were kidnapped, interrogated, and tortured. There are reports that bribes were paid to keep them silent and prevent the story from reaching the media or law enforcement. No official report was filed with the police for more than 2 years. The theft was deliberately buried, raising serious questions. Why was the money hidden in furniture, not declared to authorities like South African Reserve Bank and South African Revenue Services? Why did the president not follow the law to report the theft? What other crimes were concealed under the excuse of private business? And why should South Africans believe on the banking system of South Africa while the president doesn't believe in the banking system? He trusts his sofas and mantras. How did the public and media found out? The scandal only came to light in June 2022 when former State Security Agency Director General Arthur Fraser filed a criminal complaint against President Ramaphosa. Fraser revealed that the president had concealed a serious crime, violated the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, and engaged in money laundering and abuse of power. His affidavit detailed how Ramaphosa's employees and bodyguards had conducted illegal operations across the border in Namibia, in collaboration with certain local officials to recover the stolen funds and silence the suspects. The revelation shook the country, exposing a web of secrecy, criminality, and corruption within the highest office in South Africa. After the news broke to the public and the media, Parliament had to do something. Since the president is elected in Parliament and accounts to Parliament. In late 2022, led by the Economic Freedom Fighters and the Democratic Alliance and other oppositions like ATM, UTM, Parliament appointed an independent panel in terms of Section 89 of the Constitution. The panel, chaired by former Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo, was tasked with determining whether sufficient evidence existed to begin the impeachment proceedings against President Ramaphosa. The panel's findings were devastating and shocking. Finding number 1. There was a deliberate effort to hide Phala crimes from open investigation. Number two, the president and those acting under his instruction made sure that the theft and the recovery operations were kept secret. 3. The president's failure to report the crime and his violation of Section 96, subsection 2b of the Constitution that prohibits conflict of interest and Section 34(1) of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act were deliberate acts meant to keep the matter hidden from the public scrutiny. Number 4. A letter sent to Namibian police requesting that they handle the matter with discretion confirmed this intentional cover-up and exposed cross-border interference in private criminal case. Number 5. The panel also found President Ramaphosa abused his position as head of state, using his office and state connections to request assistance from Namibian president in apprehending a suspect, an act that violated both protocol and law. Number 6. The panel noted that more foreign currency was found stuffed in SOFA than the amount reflected in the supposed acknowledgement of receipt. Number 7. This discrepancy raises serious question about the true source and amount of hidden money, suggesting undeclared foreign income or potential money laundering. These findings confirmed what the EFF, Democratic Alliance, UDM, and other opposition parties had long maintained. The President of South Africa broke the law and abused his office and lied to the nation. The ANC members of parliament blocked accountability from Cyril Ramaphosa when the Section 89 panel report was tabled in December 2022. The opposition parties voted in favor of adopting it and initiating impeachment proceedings. However, ANC caucus acting under instruction from Lutulu House voted to reject the report and protected Ramaphosa from facing an inquiry. This shameful vote marked one of the darkest days in South African democracy, a moment when the ruling party chose loyalty over law, corruption over conscience, and privilege over the people. The message was clear. Parliament had become a shield for corrupt and a weapon against accountability. During the same session, opposition parties demanded that the vote on the Phala report be conducted by secret ballot. This was intended to protect MPs, including those within the ANC, who wishes to vote honestly without fear of victimization or recall. Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula, who is currently undergoing court for corruption cases when she was a Minister of Defense, acting in defense of Ramaphosa under the instruction of the ANC, refused to allow a secret ballot. By doing so, she silenced independent voices within the ruling party and denied Parliament the chance to vote freely for truth and justice. The EFF, DA, and ATM condemned this decision as an abuse of parliamentary procedure and betrayal of democratic principle. SARS selective enforcement. In March 2023, the South African Revenue Services, SARS, released a report stating that there was no record of foreign currency being declared at any port of entry. Yet, despite this clear violation of tax and custom laws, SARS took no action against Cyril Ramaphosa, Phala, or any of his associates. SARS routinely prosecutes and personalizes ordinary South Africans for failing to declare income or assets. But when it comes to the president, who concealed foreign currency for years, SARS became toothless and silent, proving that tax injustice in South Africa is reserved for the poor and the powerless. The captured public protector. In June 2023, the acting public protector, Kalega, released her final report on the Phala matter, Despite glaring inconsistencies and unanswered questions, Kalega cleared Ramaphosa of wrongdoing, concluding that he had not abused his position or violated the executive ethics code. The report claimed that President Ramaphosa knew nothing about the alleged cattle sale between the Sudanese businessman Hazim Mustafa and the Phala farm manager, Mr. Ndlovu, adding that the animal supposedly bought by Mustafa never left the farm, despite the transaction allegedly taking place 3 years earlier. Further, in her illogical findings, Kollega Telega insists that a clear conflict of interest does not amount to corruption, a conclusion that defies both reason and common sense. This outcome proved that even Office of Public Protector, once a pillar of accountability, had become an instrument for shielding the powerful and the number one office within the republic, not the public or the 60 million South Africans. The captured regulator, the South African Reserve Bank, SARB, which is responsible for monitoring the flow of foreign currency, joined the bandwagon to whitewash Ramaphosa's conduct. In August 2023, the Reserve Bank concluded that Ramaphosa had not violated exchange control regulations because there was no completed sale of the buffalo and thus no contravention. This is despite the transaction being registered in the books of Ndabanyoni Estate, CC, which is solely controlled by Ramaphosa. This finding was a legal fiction designed to clear precedent. The South African Reserve Bank failed to address the central question: why was the foreign currency stored in furniture, not on a bank? Why was it stored on a private farm for over 2 years if no transaction had occurred? That question remained unanswered up until date. The African Transformation Movement and the EFF takes the matter to court, refusing to accept the manipulation of parliament and captured institutions. The EFF and African Transformation Movement (ATM) took the matter to Constitutional Court in November 2024. They argued that Parliament acted irrational and unlawful when it voted to reject the Section 89 report without debate and without a secret ballot. The legal action sought to restore the supremacy of the Constitution and reassert the independence of Parliament, demanding that the Constitutional Court compel the National Assembly to reopen the impeachment process. IPID refused to prosecute and declares the report classified, which means it can never be made public and the public will never have to know the findings of IPID. In March 2025, instead of holding those involved in Phala cover-up accountable, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, IPID, refused to act against the blatant abuse of power by the Presidential Protection Services, PPS, which is part of the South African Police Service. IPID's justification for refusing to release its report or recommend prosecution relies on several arguments. Number one, the report is classified and therefore cannot be made public, claiming the matter is sensitive and has national security implications. Number two, they argue that the Presidential Protection Services action fall outside their mandate, suggesting that because some of the activities occurred across the border or involved intelligence structures, they are not empowered to act. Number three, they claim there is insufficient evidence to charge the officers involved, alleging that they cannot definitively prove misconduct without cooperation from the presidency and Namibian authorities. Number four, they argue that the matter is still under review by other state institutions, positioning IPID as unwilling to take actions until other captured bodies such as South African Revenue Services and South African Reserve Bank act first. Almost 1 year later, still no judgment. The Constitutional Court heard the Phala case on 26 November 2024 and reserved judgment. Now, 1 year later, the court still has not released its decision. This prolonged silence undermines public confidence in judiciary and suggests that even the highest court in the land is hesitant or is scared of confronting the president. The EFF and ATM views this delay as constitutional crisis and betrayal to the promise of equality before the law. And justice delay is justice denied. As a result, on 28 November 2025, the economic freedom fighters will march to the Constitutional Court to demand the immediate release of the Phala judgment. Justice Maya, Chief Justice Maya, you're supposed to be the defender of the Constitution. You're supposed to ensure that justice is never delayed in the Republic. You're supposed to safeguard the judiciary of South Africa. You're supposed to protect the interest of all South Africans. There must not be an individual bigger than the Constitution of South Africa. There must not be an individual whom the Constitution is afraid of dealing with. I think it is about time where you act on your responsibility and give the Phala judgment. From my team and from me on Latest Daily News, we love you and see you in the next video.